Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're diving into, well, the shadows. Film noir.
Yeah, specifically that fascinating split, right, between classic noir and neo-noir.
Exactly. That DNA mutation from the 40s and 50s originals to the later stuff, 70s onward.
We want to kind of unpack what makes them tick, what makes them different, but also, compelling in their own ways.
So you can spot the differences next time you're watching.
Oh.
Okay, let's start with maybe time and place.
Sure. Classic noir, it feels very contained, doesn't it?
Definitely. Post-war American cities. You think Double Indemnity, The Big Sleep,
Yeah.
dark alleys, rain, smoke.
You can practically smell it. Very specific vibe. But neo-noir, it breaks out.
How so? It's not always the big city.
Not always. I mean, you still get iconic city films, like Chinatown's LA is unforgettable.
Right.
But the mood, that noir feeling, it starts to bleed out into the suburbs, think Blue Velvet.
Oh yeah, unsettling.
Or highways, like in Blood Simple. Even other countries, like Old Boy from South Korea.
So the atmosphere becomes more important than the actual, physical location?
Exactly. It's the feeling, the rot, you could say. It's not just downtown anymore. It's potentially everywhere.
Interesting. And that shift must tie into the visual style, too.
Yeah.
Classic is so defined by its look.
Oh, absolutely. Black and white, high contrast, those deep shadows, Venetian blinds casting stripes.
Very German expressionist influence, visually dramatic.
Totally. It screams mood. Neo-noir, though, it embraces color, but not like happy color.
No, definitely not. How does color work in neo-noir, then?
Think neon glow, harsh sodium streetlights. Michael Mann's films like Heat or Collateral. Sleek, maybe, but still cold, alienating.
It's a different kind of darkness, maybe?
Sort of. It's less about hiding in shadows, more about being exposed under unsettling light. Even daylight can feel wrong, like in Lynch's stuff.
So the emotional chiaroscuro, that light-dark contrast in the soul, that
It
stays.
stays, just painted with a different palette,
Okay, let's talk protagonists.
Yeah.
Classic noir. The hard-boiled PI, the poor sap caught in a web.
Yeah, like Fred McMurray in Double Indemnity. Cynical, maybe world-weary, but usually competent. They know the score, mostly.
Right.
Yeah.
How does the neo-noir hero or anti-hero change? Are they just grittier versions?
They are often grittier, yeah, but it's more than that. They feel more broken, less in control.
Examples?
Well, think Travis Bickle in Taxi Driver. He's not exactly a competent detective.
No, definitely not.
Or the photographer in Nightcrawler, or Ryan Gosling in Drive. They're often outsiders, loners, maybe more damaged from the start, dragged down rather than choosing the path sometimes.
That feels like a significant shift. And what about the femme fatale? The classic version is so iconic.
Yeah.
Seductive, dangerous.
The woman who leads the man to ruin. Yeah, she's central in classic noir.
Is she still around in neo-noir? Did she just get an update?
She's definitely still around. You see her in films like Body Heat, maybe Mulholland Drive in a way, but it's often more complicated. Sometimes she wins, sometimes she's more of a victim herself, or sometimes she's just not the main problem.
Not the main problem. What replaces her then?
Often it's something bigger, like systemic corruption, or maybe the biggest trap is the protagonist's own psychology, their own demons.
Wow. So the source of the doom shifts from a person to the system. Or the self.
Pretty much, which changes the themes, right? Classic noir is heavy on fate, greed, lust, betrayal. You can't escape your destiny.
Very fatalistic.
Neo-noir keeps that fatalism, sure, but it adds layers of very modern anxieties.
Like what?
Alienation, definitely. Surveillance, media obsession, like in Nightcrawler. The anonymity of cities, urban sprawl, and heat. Sometimes it's even dream logic, like Mulholland Drive, where reality itself is unstable.
So the rot isn't just personal anymore, it's societal. Institutions, identity.
Exactly. It feels bigger, more pervasive.
Which probably affects morality and narrative.
Yeah.
Classic noir endings are usually bleak.
Oh, yeah. Crime doesn't pay. Love is doomed. Disillusionment is your reward. Think Out of the Past. Just tragic.
Does neo-noir ever lighten up? Offer any hope?
It's still often bleak. I mean, Chinatown,
No.
Sip of Seven, those are devastating. But sometimes there's a slicker. LA Confidential lets a hero survive, maybe find some justice. Drive has that sense of sacrifice having meaning. The rules aren't quite as rigid, maybe.
And the way the stories are told.
Neo-noir gets more experimental there, too. Fractured timelines, like Memento. Unreliable narrators or perspectives, Mulholland Drive again. Sometimes the mystery doesn't even have a clear answer. It leaves you hanging.
So boiling it down, that core shift, Classic noir is often man versus woman or man versus fate.
Yeah, the hero trying to outsmart the femme fatale or escape the inevitable.
But neo-noir becomes more like man versus systems or man versus himself.
I think that's a great way to put it. The enemy isn't always external or human. Sometimes it's bureaucracy or the media landscape or just the darkness inside the protagonist. Much more internal.
A really fascinating evolution.
Yeah.
So we hope this deep dive helps you see these films, both classic and neo, with maybe fresh eyes.
Yeah, go back and watch a few side by side. See if you spot those differences in mood, look, character.
And maybe chew on this thought as you do.
How does this whole evolution, from classic noir's fatalism to neo-noir's modern anxieties, reflect our own changing society? Our fears about control, about chaos?
And what does the enduring appeal of these dark stories tell us about ourselves today? What are we looking for in the shadows? How the gritty shadows of classic detective stories got a modern, often kind of darker makeover. Okay, let's unpack this. A prime example, Chinatown, right? 1974.
Classic.
It has all those classic noir bits, private eye, the femme fatale, corruption tied right into the city's water, its infrastructure. But here's where it gets really interesting. The detective, Jack Nicholson's character, he's just completely defeated by the end. How does that kind of systemic hopelessness change the whole game for us?
Well, that's exactly it. That's the fascinating modern twist. The detective doesn't win. More than that, the truth he uncovers, it's useless.
Useless. Wow.
Yeah, the systemic rot is just too vast, too deep. And that famous ending, it just perfectly nails the hopelessness, you know? Trying to fight that kind of power, it leaves you feeling pretty despairing.
Yeah.
And you can compare that to, say, Philip Marlowe in The Long Goodbye. That was 73.
Oh, right. Altman's film.
Exactly. He's portrayed almost like a relic. He's lost, out of time in 70s LA, way less in control than the classic Marlowe ever was. It's a very different kind of antihero.
So the detective kind of gets this bleak, maybe even futile update.
Okay.
What about the other big figure, the femme fatale? Did Neo-Noir just, keep her as the woman leading men to ruin, or did her story change too?
Oh, it absolutely changes. Big time. Take Body Heat from 81.
Woo, yeah. Steamy.
Right. It cranks up the sexual explicitness, very 80s. But the really cunning twist there, the femme fatale, Kathleen Turner's character, she doesn't just cause ruin, she thrives, gets away with it all.
Right, she wins.
She totally wins. A huge contrast to her classic predecessors who usually met a pretty grim fate. Even look at LA Confidential from 97. Okay, you've got the crooked cops, the Hollywood sleaze. The femme fatale archetype is strong with Kim Basinger's character.
Yeah, and Bracken.
But the ending, it hints at maybe a little shimmer of redemption for her. That's something old noir almost never allowed.
Okay, so the characters are evolving. What about the setting? Classic noir had the alienated anti-hero in this morally compromised city.
Yeah.
How did neo-noir build on that? Maybe take it darker?
Yeah, I think it did. If you connect this to the bigger picture, the city itself kind of morphs. It goes beyond just a corrupt backdrop. Think Taxi Driver 76.
Travis Bickle.
Right. That moves past mystery into just pure psychosis. The city isn't just where crime happens, it is the crime scene, reflecting this personal madness, this raw, urban decay.
And it's not always the dark alleys, is it?
No, that's what David Lynch did in Blue Velvet 86. He, weaponized normality, suburban lawns, sunshine.
Hiding something awful.
Exactly, hiding a total nightmare. And you stumble into it with this voyeur character, not even a detective. It forces you to question, where the real evil is. Maybe it's not the obvious places.
That sounds sadly.
Then, totally different scale, you get Michael Mann's Heat in 95. Los Angeles is this huge, impersonal stage, professionalism versus personal life, operatic. Shows a modern anti-hero struggle, but vast. Still personal, though.
And what about when there wasn't even a detective? Just regular folks making terrible choices.
That's a great point. Blood Simple, Coen Brothers, 84.
Yeah.
No hard-boiled PI, just ordinary people making stupid, desperate mistakes. And Noir Fate turns into this, absurd, bloody chaos. Totally spiraled. Then you jump ahead to Drive in 2000. That strips the loner anti-hero down to almost pure aesthetic, silence, neon, that synth score. And then, boom, sudden, brutal violence.
Let's talk more. Style and action.
Kind of. It feels less about a complex moral code, even a twisted one, and more about this primal force just reacting. A very different feel from the angst of earlier guys.
So if the characters and cities are getting darker, more complex, what happens to the mystery itself? The idea you can find some truth, even a grim one.
Well, some films just shatter that completely. Mulholland Drive, 2001. Lynch again.
Right. Still trying to figure that one out.
Exactly. The mystery is basically unsolvable. Identities collapse, dreams, reality, it all just blurs. You're left with, well, not answers, but this deep sense of despair, of longing.
That feels like a big departure.
It is, and you see echoes maybe in Seven from 95. That warps the detective story into this, like, apocalyptic moral horror. The killer isn't just evil, he's like a prophet of how messed up everything is.
And Nightcrawler, Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, 2014. Perfect example of a modern twist. The noir anti-hero isn't fighting the system, he is the rot. He's this media ghoul feeding on despair for profit. A whole new kind of visible corruption.
So pulling it all together, what does this mean for us? Neo-Noir wasn't just, copying the old stuff.
Not at all.
It went deeper, made the darkness more personal, maybe more systemic, often left you without clear answers, without much hope. Really reflecting the anxieties of its time, huh?
Absolutely. It pushed boundaries cinematically and thematically. It reflected our changing society, our anxieties, and it really challenged the whole idea of justice or even just resolution in a world that often feels, well, chaotic, morally gray.
As our world keeps changing, what new twists could that classic noir DNA take in future stories? What do you think the next generation of neo-noir might look like? How will it reflect our moment right now? And what's really compelling is just how much these films stick with us. They're not just old movies.
Right.
They sort of hold up a mirror to society's anxieties, don't they? Always changing to reflect new kinds of, moral issues and decay.
It's a dark mirror for sure.
But one we keep looking into.
Yeah. Okay, let's set the scene then. Classic noir. We're talking post-war America, 1940s mostly.
Right. The mood was heavy.
Black and white crime stories, yeah. And this real palpable sense of fatalism, paranoia, moral ambiguity all over the place.
And that fatalism is key. That feeling the character's fate is sealed. Like, they're doomed no matter what.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Doomed. Then, fast forward a bit, maybe to the 70s.
Right. Things start to shift.
That formula, it didn't just vanish, it kind of morphed, right, into neo-noir.
Exactly. Reimagined. The actual shadows didn't disappear, but they changed. Color came in, texture, and the meaning behind it all adapted to a really different time.
So it wasn't just about literal darkness anymore.
No, it became something more pervasive, insidious almost.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting, I think. The character types. Take the femme fatale in classic noir.
Ah, yes. Iconic.
Like in Double Indemnity in 1944, you've got Walter Neff, this insurance guy.
Dixie Smart.
Yeah, totally snared by Phyllis Dietrichson. And their scheme, it just leads to total destruction for both of them.
Right. The message was pretty clear back then.
Crime doesn't pay, end of story, almost like a warning.
But then Neo-Noir comes along and just flips that. Think about Body Heat, 1981. Maddie Walker.
Oh, yeah, Kathleen Turner.
She's arguably even more dangerous than Phyllis. But the crucial difference, she gets away clean. Ned Racine, the guy she ropes in, he rots in jail.
Right. She completely escapes.
The neo-noir femme fatale. She survives. Sometimes she even thrives. It suggests that maybe in this newer, more cynical world, crime can pay.
If you're ruthless enough, maybe.
Exactly. Or if the system itself is broken enough. It really taps into a kind of societal disillusionment, I think, questioning those old certainties about justice.
There's a huge shift. Okay, what about the hero figure? The classic private eye, like Bogart as Philip Marlowe in The Big Sleep.
Yeah, the archetype. Confident, witty. He's sort of a moral anchor, right, in this corrupt world. He has his code.
Flawed, but it's there.
But what happens when that anchor gets cut loose? That's what Neo-Noir explores.
You mean like Elliot Gould in The Long Goodbye?
Precisely. Such a stark contrast. He plays Marlowe too, but he's shambling, confused. His old code feels, well, almost irrelevant.
Out of place.
Totally out of place. An alienated figure. The classic hero just doesn't seem to fit anymore. It reflects that loss of faith in traditional heroes, maybe traditional anything.
And visually, classic noir had that signature look.
Oh, absolutely. High contrast black and white, those hard shadows, the Venetian blinds casting stripes.
Smoke curling in the light.
Yeah. It wasn't just about looking cool, though it did. That chiaroscuro, light and dark, it mirrored the moral gray zones, the hidden dangers.
So how did neo-noir match that psychological effect, but with color?
Well, that's the clever part. They used color deliberately. Think of the sticky, humid oranges and reds in Body Heat. They just dial up the tension.
Or like Blue Velvet, bright daylight, but hiding nightmare.
Exactly. Or the neon purples and pinks in Drive. It creates this heightened sense of unreality, Emotional danger, the tools change, but that feeling of a world being somehow off remained. Maybe even more unsettling in color sometimes.
So thematically, classic noir, at its heart, you said fatalism, doom.
Yeah, the doomed man, like Walter Neff. He thinks he's pulling the strings, but really he's just caught by his own flaws. Can't escape himself.
But neo-noir, it feels bigger than just one person's fate.
It really spans the battlefield. It's not just personal destiny. It's about systemic corruption, powerful institutions. Even the nature of identity itself gets questioned.
Like in Chinatown, where finding the truth doesn't even matter in the end.
Right, because the power structures are just too immense. Or Taxi Driver, where the real enemy seems to be Travis Bickle's own mind, his alienation. Where reality, dreams, it all just blurs. Truth itself becomes slippery, maybe impossible to grasp. The darkness isn't just a shadow in an alley, it's woven into the system, into society, even into our own heads.
Okay, so summing up, classic noir, maybe a closed system. Fate seals the deal for the individual.
Kind of, yeah. Contained, in a way.
Whereas neo-noir feels more like an open wound. It's questioning everything, truth, morality, whether power can even be challenged. The old rules just seem gone.
That's a good way to put it. The really big shift isn't just black and white to color. It's darkness seeping out of the shadows and into broad daylight, reflecting, I think, deeper, more widespread anxieties.
Corruption out in the open.
Yeah, and alienation maybe being the norm. Think about stories today, not just films, anything. How many seem to be borrowing from neo-noir, asking you to look past the shiny surface?
To find the corruption or the weirdness hiding in plain sight.
Exactly. What kinds of daylight nightmares, so to speak, are we maybe living through or seeing reflected back at us right now in seemingly ordinary places? After the war, looking back at those intense black and white movies from the 40s and 50s, that's where film noir gets its name. And classic noir, it had these key ingredients. The deep shadows, obviously, the guy who's basically doomed from the start, the femme fatale pulling the strings, and this absolute conviction that crime just doesn't pay ever. You couldn't game the system.
Right. That certainty was just baked in. But then things start to get interesting because noir didn't just fade away, did it? It comes back maybe around the 70s looking different, neon lights instead of just shadows. And suddenly those hard and fast rules, they start to wobble or, sometimes they just shatter. Let's take an example. Double Indemnity, 1944. Classic stuff. You've got Fred McMurray as Walter Neff. Smooth operator, thinks he's pulling a fast one. But Phyllis Dietrichson, Barbara Stanwyck, ice cold, she completely ensnares him.
Yeah, she plays him perfectly.
And by the end, they're both done for. Kaput. That's the classic noir playbook, right? He dies, she dies, maybe they take each other out, no winning. It's almost weird to think that kind of moral certainty could just evaporate later on.
It is weird, yeah. Because classic noir, fundamentally, it's about fate, an inescapable destiny. The protagonist tries to dodge it, maybe thinks he can outsmart it.
But fate always connects.
Always. But, okay, jump ahead to 1981. Body Heat. William Hurt's Ned Racine. He's not slick like Neff. He's kind of weak, honestly, not the sharpest guy. And Kathleen Turner as Maddie Walker. She's the modern femme fatale. Seductive, yeah, but ruthless. And here's the key. She's untouchable.
Untouchable how?
She uses him, gets what she wants, and walks away clean. She wins.
Yeah.
So what happened to Crime Never Pays? It completely flips the script.
Whoa, yeah, that's a huge shift. And it wasn't just the femme fatale archetype changing. Think about the detectives. Bogart as Philip Marlowe in The Big Sleep. He's tough, got the witty comebacks. He's like this moral compass in a sea of corruption. You trust his code.
He stands for something, even if the world around him is rotten.
Right. But then, flash forward again, 1973, Elliot Gould plays Marlowe in The Long Goodbye, and he's different. He's mumbling, seems totally lost, like a relic wandering through this, indifferent 70s LA. The wisecracks fall flat, nobody cares about his code, and spoiler alert, he ends up breaking it himself.
Exactly. Even the hero figure is compromised, lost.
So what does that say about the bigger picture, the themes?
Well, if classic noir is about fighting fate, neo-noir often asks something maybe more disturbing. What if there's no fate? What if it's all just chaos? Look at Chinatown. Finds the truth, right? But it achieves nothing. The system, the power structure just crushes it.
Awful. Powerless.
Or Taxi Driver. That feels less about some external doom and more about the enemy being internal. Travis Bickle's own alienation, his own demons, maybe something we could even relate to in a way. And then you get to something like Mulholland Drive, and wow, The whole idea of objective truth just seems to just dissolve completely. Dreams, reality, it all bleeds together. So you see the shift from this external unavoidable doom to internal, confusing, maybe meaningless chaos.
That's a much bleaker landscape, isn't it? And the setting itself spreads out, too. Classic noir felt very tied to the city, right? LA, San Francisco, New York. The city itself was corrupt.
She's like a character.
Yeah.
A dangerous one.
But your sources point out that in Neo-Noir, the darkness isn't confined anymore. You see it in, like, the creepy suburbs of Blue Velvet or tiny, dusty towns in Blood Simple.
Or it goes international, like in Old Boy. Noir isn't stuck in the city. It's everywhere. And I think ultimately the difference really comes down to this. Classic noir says you can't beat fate. Neo-Noir kind of shrugs and says, maybe there is no fate. There's just confusion, corruption, chaos.
Yeah.
That's pretty much on your own trying to navigate it. The shadows are still there, definitely, but what they represent, that's changed.
That's a really powerful distinction. It definitely makes you think about the world reflected in these films and maybe, the world outside the theater too. If those old rules about consequences are gone and there's no fate pulling the strings, what does that leave us with? How do we figure out right and wrong then? Makes you wonder. And what's really fascinating, I think, is how these changes in film aren't just like technical, they really mirror shifts in society.
How so?
Well, views on morality, gender roles, even what makes a hero. Prepare for some aha moments about why these stories hit differently, depending on the era.
That's a great point. Let's dive right into our first comparison then. The connection between Double Indemnity from 44
It's a Stone Cold classic.
and Body Heat from 81. It feels almost like a remake, right?
Yeah.
But the changes, wow.
Profound changes, yeah.
Let's start with the guys. Walter Neff in Double Indemnity. He's the insurance salesman. Smart, smooth.
Thinks he's got it all figured out. Thinks he's running the show.
Right. But then you look at Ned Racine in Body Heat. How's he different?
Well, Ned's a small-town lawyer, and frankly, he's not as sharp as Neff. A bit sloppy, maybe?
Yeah, it definitely seems led more by raw lust than some grand calculation.
Exactly. Which makes him feel more vulnerable, less in control from the start. It sort of suggests a world where maybe men aren't quite the masters they thought they were in the 40s.
Interesting. Okay, so that's the male lead. But the femme fatale, that's crucial in noir, isn't it? How does Phyllis Dietrichson become Maddie Walker?
Oh, that's maybe the biggest shift. Phyllis in Double Indemnity is like the blueprint. Cold, manipulative.
And ultimately doomed. She doesn't win.
No way. Classic noir dictates she has to pay. But Maddie Walker in Body Heat.
She's something else.
Totally. Still manipulative, sure, but also really sexually powerful, commanding. And the key thing, she gets away.
She escapes. Lives happily ever after rich. It's stunning.
It completely breaks the old code. Double Indemnity screams, crime doesn't pay. Both Neff and Phyllis are doomed.
Fate catches up.
But Body Heat, the man pays, the woman walks. That's a huge reflection of kind of early 80s anxieties about power shifts, challenging those old moral certainties, especially around gender.
And the style reinforces it, doesn't it? Double Indemnity has those iconic hard shadows, the claustrophobic rooms.
Yeah, and Neff's confession, right? I did it for the money and the woman.
I didn't get the money and I didn't get the woman. Classic.
Whereas Body Heat trades the shadows for, like, oppressive heat.
Those sweaty Florida nights, the oranges and reds.
Yeah, the heat itself becomes the trap, the visual metaphor. It's more sensual, more explicit, and it just refuses to deliver that neat moral lesson of the original.
Okay, that contrast is clear. Let's pivot to our second case study. The detective, Philip Marlowe.
The icon.
We're looking at The Big Sleep from 46 versus The Long Goodbye from 73. So Big Sleep Marlowe, that's Bogart.
The gold standard. Hard-boiled, witty, confident, that untouchable cool.
He walks through corruption but stays, sort of, clean himself.
He has a code. It works in that world.
Then we jump to 73. The Long Goodbye. Elliot Gould is Marlowe.
Same name, same job on paper.
But a completely different man, right? He's kind of shambling out of place.
Totally out of step, like he woke up in the wrong decade. Baffled by 70s LA. That 40s cool just looks weird.
The whole tone shifts, too. Big Sleep is all snappy dialogue, charm mixed with danger.
Long Goodbye feels shaggy, meandering. It's deliberately anti-cool. Marlowe isn't driving the plot, he's just kind of drifting through it.
And the morality. Bogart's Marlowe navigated the muck but stayed heroic. Gould's Marlowe. The corruption feels deeper, more Existential.
Exactly. That old code doesn't seem to apply in the cynical post-Vietnam 70s. He seems lost. And the ending is shocking.
Yeah, he breaks his own code, turns violent in a way Bogart's Marlowe never would.
It's a fundamental critique, really. It suggests that the 1940s tough guy, that hero, is maybe useless or even dangerous in this new, more ambiguous world.
Even the look changes. Classic black and white shadows in The Big Sleep.
Trench coats, fedora.
Become sun-drenched, hazy L.A. in The Long Goodbye. Pastel colors, almost indifferent sunshine.
It's noir mood, but transplanted somewhere it feels alien. So The Long Goodbye isn't just updating Marlowe, it's questioning the very idea of that kind of heroism.
So, pulling these threads together, what's the core difference this reveals between classic noir and neo-noir?
Well, if classic noir often says something like, you can't beat fate, the system is rigged, but maybe you can face it with style.
Right.
Neo-noir, especially in these examples, seems to say, you can't even find solid ground anymore. The rules themselves are gone or have changed completely. It's about a loss of certainty.
A shift from fighting fate to just trying to navigate ambiguity.
Precisely. And it's fascinating how cinema holds that mirror up to our changing ideas about control, justice, power, what we even think is right or wrong.
It really has been quite a journey through these cinematic landscapes, hasn't it? Seeing how the stories we tell evolve and what that says about us.
And that leaves us, and you listening, with a pretty big question, I think. Given these shifts we've talked about, what does it mean for us today? When we talk about heroes, villains, the rules of the game, what kinds of stories are we telling now that reflect our own anxieties about finding solid ground in a complicated world?
That's definitely something to think about. We hope you continue exploring these ideas.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the shifting shadows of cinema.